Hey guys, welcome back. And of course I want to say thank you all very much for your subscribing and commenting in the last few videos. Welcome to the channel. And in this video we're going to be discussing the Nintendo 3DS Successor. And yes, the president of Nintendo, Tatsumi Kimishima, said that Nintendo is considering a Nintendo 3DS Successor. So that would be a dedicated handheld which would come after the Nintendo 3DS, separate from the Nintendo Switch. Now, of course, this was translated in Google Translate from their article in Japanese, but I was also able to get it translated for one of my fans who speaks Japanese fluently and reads Japanese, and he was kind enough to translate it for me. So I'll read both translations for you, and basically it says the same thing. First, from Google Translate, it says that Kimishima emphasized about the 3DS being different from the Switch, in that the Switch is a different shape, a different weight, a different price, and can be divided into pieces. And then regarding the successor of the 3DS, Kimishima said that since there is a demand and market that is required, I am continuing to consider it. So basically he's saying that there is a separate market that he feels there is a demand for, and that the market is there for the need to have a different dedicated handheld, is what he's saying. And the other translation I got from the fan who gave it to me says it in a little bit more simple terms. He said basically that Kimishima said, we can separate the markets for the Switch and the 3DS. Because there is a need and market for it, talking about the 3DS, we are investigating what to do next after the 3DS. So yeah, basically these translations indicate that they are considering a sequel to the Nintendo 3DS, or basically another next generation dedicated handheld device that is separate in a separate market from the Nintendo Switch. Now, I saw a lot of uproar on the internet about this and people getting upset saying, oh my gosh, what is Nintendo thinking? How could they do this? Being upset about additional hardware. But guys, I think this is a good idea by Nintendo to do this. And there's probably a lot of reasons why Kimishima came out and said this right before the Switch is launching. One reason is that the Switch is a hybrid device. It's neither a dedicated handheld and it's neither a dedicated home console, right? It's a hybrid device separated from being a dedicated device to one thing. So it's a jack of all trades, right? So what Kimishima did here was that if, I'm saying if, the Nintendo Switch fails to deliver on its promise and is a complete flop, then Nintendo can say that, hey, the Switch was not a dedicated handheld. Here's our dedicated handheld device that is actually the sequel to the Nintendo 3DS, not related to the Nintendo Switch. They could get away with saying that, right? And it would not hurt their brand of dedicated handhelds. Reason number two is, and of course this is just my opinion of why this would be said at this time, but fact of the matter is Nintendo's stock has been dropping after every investors meeting they've had since the Switch was announced. Now, possibly Kimishima is giving investors something else to go by in case they still don't like what the Switch is offering. Since after the initial reveal of the Switch, their stock prices dropped by 7% back in October, and then after that first financial data was released a couple days ago, their stock dropped by almost 4% as well. That was when they showed the Switch game list for first and third parties, and they showed the 3DS game list, and of course their financial data they released as well. Their stock prices dropped by almost 4% after that. Then of course just yesterday you got this information about a possible 3DS successor that Kimishima starts talking about. Stock prices have gone up by 5% since then, but of course that could mean nothing and just be due to the release of Fire Emblem Heroes, which is on Android and iOS and is off to a great start already and getting rave reviews. So it could all be about that, you never know. But the point is that Nintendo is giving investors something maybe to invest in besides just the Switch, because they've obviously made it clear, and I'm talking about investors here, that they are not too keen on the Switch. So giving them something else to invest in and maybe giving them some kind of other product that they might be coming out with in the future, that could give investors something to actually look forward to in the future if the Switch doesn't float their boat, basically. Also, using the verbiage considering leaves it open to the possibility that they won't release a sequel to the 3DS as well. If the Switch is a runaway hit, they can go ahead and say, hey, we're just going to continue with the Switch and we don't see the need to release another console at this time. You see, so there could be a lot of reasons why Kimishima said what he said at the time that he said it. But what I think is going on is that Nintendo is in fact making a dedicated handheld still, because they're saying right here in this article that they still feel very strongly about the dedicated handheld market. And if you recall, I did a video in my interview with Image Informed Games, the guys who make the Steamroll franchise. One of my concerns back in November and October when this thing was first revealed was that there wasn't enough form factors to make everyone happy for the Switch. Basically, as a portable, I thought it was too big and that they needed to offer more form factors, because that's what Nintendo always seems to do with their handhelds. Granted, the Switch isn't necessarily a dedicated handheld, as we know, but offering more form factors would be beneficial. So take a look at what I said back then. Well, my personal point of view would be like Japan. In Japan, they like to have smaller form factors, right? And to put in their pockets and to take with them on the subway. Possibly, that is a little bit too big for them to carry around with them with all the other things they carry around. So maybe they would offer more of a cell phone type size form factor to play on the go with better battery life. That's just an idea, but it could make a difference as far as the region is concerned and somebody's playstyle.
It's like, that's not me.
It's interesting though, because the iPad Mini, its sales are really, really good. So it's like, and it sells really, really good for the iPad standard version too, and then it sells really, really good for the iPhone. So it's like, you got really, really good across the board, but something's not for you. So
no, exactly.
The choices are good.
Yeah. So there you have like the maybe the Nintendo strategy there again, like add more specified hardware or specific hardware, so that it fits everyone.
So taking all that into account, we could go in many different directions with this. Nintendo could come out and say, hey, we're releasing a sequel to the 3DS. It's going to be a dedicated handheld. It's going to have a smaller screen. It's going to fit in your pocket. Yada, yada, yada. It's going to have innovative features about it. And it won't be called the Nintendo Switch. It'll be called something else. But perhaps it'll have a shared library of games, and maybe it'll play the same games as the Switch. We don't know. I'm just speculating, of course. Or if the Switch takes off and sells like gangbusters, they can release a Switch Lite version of the Nintendo Switch and have it to be smaller form factor. Maybe it has no detachable controllers, and they just call it the Switch Lite or Switch Mini, as some people are saying. So it remains to be seen what Nintendo will do, but I'm always supportive of having more hardware. Putting all your eggs in one basket of hardware, and this goes for any business, usually is not how you do smart business. Usually you have multiple options. So the Switch, even though it's a jack-of-all-trades system and gives you multiple options in one device, Nintendo wants to make money. So making more money would mean making more hardware. Having different variations of hardware, different types of hardware. They could play all the same games. That would be outstanding, right? But you want to have more hardware to sell more systems to make more money, to make more profit, right? So I'm just going to throw this out there right now. In my opinion, I think Nintendo is definitely making a successor to the Nintendo 3DS, maybe to be released in the next year or so when the 3DS dies off, because obviously the game releases for the 3DS are dwindling very quickly. So if Nintendo is going to release a dedicated handheld, which I think they will, I think they will do it within the next year or so. So I expect them to announce something like that maybe later this year. And this was really close, like really close. Kimishima came really close here to actually saying that they're working on something right now. Considering usually means, hey, we already are working on something. Otherwise, why would he even say anything right now, right? I don't see why he would even mention a successor to the 3DS right now if the Switch was the only focus. So they're focusing on Switch and 3DS. They made it clear in their investors meeting. And again, this is just all my opinion, right? But what Kimishima could have said easily to deflect the question was just say, hey, we're only focusing on 3DS and Nintendo Switch, and we have lots of great games coming out for the 3DS right now, and we're not thinking about any other successors at this time because the 3DS is doing well. He could have easily said that and left it at that, but instead he chose to talk about a successor to the 3DS in the dedicated handheld market. So to me that says something. But there's no reason to be upset about that if Nintendo does release a dedicated handheld that's smaller or whatever than the Nintendo Switch and is only focused on portable gaming. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. It's actually a good thing. And especially if it has all the same games like a shared library. You know, we've talked about it before, Nintendo said it before in the past in previous investors meeting that they were thinking about having a shared library of games across multiple devices, family of systems, things like that. So they can make one game work on multiple different devices, and this would fit into something like that if they were to make a new dedicated handheld in the future. Because like I said, maybe not everyone in the world wants to carry the larger size version of the Switch, or maybe they want to have a more dedicated personal handheld experience that they could fit in their pocket or whatnot, right? So more choices is always a good thing, guys. So let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think Nintendo is going to make a dedicated handheld in the future within the next year or so, replacing the 3DS? Do you think they're going to make a Switch Mini, like a small version of the Nintendo Switch? Or do you think what Kimishima is saying here is the truth, and that they really do believe that the 3DS and the Switch are two separate markets, and that they'll make a different system than the Switch, but possibly have a shared library of games? Let me know what you guys think. It's going to be a hot topic, of course, so let's keep it clean in the comment section. And we're all Nintendo fans supporting Nintendo, right? So I'll see you guys there. Again, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Take care.